What's going on, everybody? Let me get the outro or the intro started real quick now.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so today we're gonna do a two-part episode. Whether you join or not, that's up to you. Um, I always have random things going on, and my scheduling is so erratic. I need to actually sit down and develop an actual streaming section or schedule so I could do more. This is exactly when I'm gonna do it. This is when I'm gonna have it. But for now, I like the way I do it just randomly because I write my scripts out and then I just go for it. I don't think about what I'm going to do it. I don't have any of that stuff scheduled. So I should. I know I should. That's the best way to do it, but whatever, right? So anyone that wants to join in, I put into the chat on Instagram in my chat. I'm about to post something onto my live, into my channel feed, my stories. I'm sorry, on my stories. So you could have that. So if you want to join there, you can join there. But it's going to lead you into what's called the green room onto the program that I use, and then from there, whenever we start talking, or there's a button where you can click that says raise your hand or whatever. I'll pull you into the thing, and you can come join me, and we'll have a conversation over all this stuff. Let me just go ahead and post that on Instagram. My phone just did an update, so it's updating now. How big of an update was it? Now it's going to tell me, like, this is everything my AI can do now. I'm drinking liquid death. It is water. Jesus, that took too long. Um, yeah, nothing real new on that. Yeah, I know. I'll learn it all as I go, like I always do. Ooh, they made the things more pretty. I like that. Okay, so let's put up an Instagram story feed. What is that? What is that? Oh, finishing system updates. Whatever. That's going to take forever because it's doing two major things in the background all at the same time. Actually, I have to go to my Meta AI app. Ah, crap. I didn't mean. I know how to scroll. Oh, I can. It shows me six things now instead of four. Eight things instead of four now. I'm sorry. I said six. That's cool. Don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Give me. Oh my God. Where's my picture? Okay. Thank you. I know you just finished the update. No. My media. And I'll download this image. I use AI sometimes, a lot of times, when it comes to images, because I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Sorry about that. Oh my God, it is lagging so much because it is updating everything all at once. And it's going to, yeah, look at that. That's not even the image I just did. What are you talking about? I just, God. Recent photos, uh, albums. You know what? Where are my downloaded files? It didn't download. What the hell? What's going on here? Hold on. Because I downloaded it. Yeah, turn that on. Okay, thank you. Fuck, I don't care. This is taking a lot more than it should be. Albums, view all. Where is it? You said it's down here. Where is it? I don't care about that. This thing is dumb. Okay, so where's my picture? Media. I wanted this one. I'm gonna try one more time and then I'm moving on. Cool, that's not gonna work. So we're just gonna do this then. Nope, don't like that. Oh, my desk is a mess. There it goes. And I am dumb because I did not save the link somewhere where I could access it. This is a lot more complicated than it has to be. And my phone is super laggy. I don't think I like this anymore. I'm gonna get it fixed. I'm gonna get it to work. Watch. Watch. I'm gonna get it to work. Nope, I guess not. I'm not gonna get it to work. I lied. Nope, there it is. I got it. Haha. Got it. You take that. Grab this. Put it here. I'm gonna get it to work. Link. Here. Paste. Done. Throw in some crappy music. It's a great song. I don't want to share it to nobody. I'll share it there. There it goes. Okay, it's gonna do its thing there. I should post it. Oh my god. I should also post it to TikTok. Was that another 30-minute process? Yeah, stuff is still popping up. Made me realize my Shut up. It won't let me. Sticker? Will it let me? Will it let me? Will it let me? Will it let me? Nope, it won't let me. Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Now I'm just going to leave my phone alone for it to do whatever it wants to do because that was an experience. Okay, so beyond all that craziness, right? Check the merch right here. My camera's flipped, so when I go this way, it's this way. Ni modo, me vale, says on the back of the shirt. You can also get this shirt from nimodo.com, if I'm not mistaken. Look, I'm like the worst brand ambassador ever. Is it com or co? Let's hit com. Nope. That's it, co. There you go. So it's nimodo.co if you want to check it out. They got great shirts. This shirt is amazing. It's one of my favorite shirts that I bought so far from anywhere. It's the black one. See if I can't find it. I will show y'all actually because this is it works better if I show y'all, right? Share screen, Nimodo, share it. I don't know why I shared the audio too. Okay, so I lost that screen. Okay, you go over here. Oh, whatever. Put a strain on this. Sorry. So I am a brand ambassador. These are all the different things that they sell. This shirt, 38 bucks. Get a discount if you use my code. And I actually have that right here, right on your screen. That links you straight to me. It gives you a discount. All they got is a 3XL right now. But this shirt is like super fucking stretchy. Like, and it snaps back. Like, this is that's one of the coolest things I've had. It says premium cotton, but like I've never had cotton stretch like that. I don't know, it's fucking made with flubber or something. That's the front. The back says this, me vale. They got some cool stuff. I recommend checking it out. I'll post them again later on. Like I said, I'm one of the most horrible brand ambassadors ever. I was a brand ambassador for Dubby for a while, which if you've never heard of Dubby, that's fine. But they're everywhere. If you're starting off as a streamer, as a content creator, they're one of the first brands you ever see anywhere. And they're always like, oh, check this out. You want to be an ambassador? And they'll really quickly accept you. And you'll get a good deal. It's an energy drink. I liked it, but they didn't have the support that I wanted. With Nimodo, they have a lot of support. I just have to reach out and actually tell them. Like, there's an ambassador chat right now. Nah, I could post here though. Nah, whatever. See, I'm very like, whatever. I'll post it later. Actually, you know what? I should post that link too. Duh. Post my link to Discord. I'm also trying to grow my Discord channel. That's not what I wanted to put. I don't know what the fuck that was. We'll go here. Here. There you go. Right now, it's just me and like two other people, which is fine because I don't care I mean, I want to grow it and have it be its own thing, a community of people who love paranormal and true crime. So I know it's going to take time to grow, and I've been neglecting my Discord channel. So I'm finally growing it back up. And the second I start growing it back up, I get new people, which is what I'm supposed to do. But I'm not going to push too hard for it. Like I said, I understand just because I'm slow at this kind of stuff because I don't push as much as I should about it. So if you want to go there, check out my Discord. I got it linked on my channel. I got it linked everywhere. If you can't find it, send me a message. I will message you about this and tell you, hey, join my Discord. Here's the link if you're interested. We do a movie night. I'm gonna make this a regular thing, a movie night. Um, Saturday at 10 p.m. So if you got no other plans, Saturday 10 p.m. we're gonna watch La Llorona. We just watched Bloodlines. So next is La Llorona. And 10 p.m. is a weird time for me because I take my dogs out at 11 o'clock every day. So I got to push their outside time a little bit late. They don't mind. They like being outside late at night as much as I do. So that's what I'm going to do. No messages? Cool. So closing out everything I don't need. And as some of you might have noticed on my other stuff, on my TikTok, Instagram, and what YouTube and whatever, I'm posting old stuff, new stuff. I'm posting all sorts of stuff that I can, getting the word out there as best as I can about the channel and about everything I'm doing here. And in one of my recent videos, if you didn't notice, my voice was very deep and gravelly. That's because I was sick for a couple days. It's still kind of there, but it's not gravelly or as low anymore. Like that day I went out and recorded and it was like super low, gravelly. I can't even imitate it. Let me try. I can only imitate it if I do this. So I got to drop the pitch and the volume of which I speak, and then I get that voice. And I did a side by side comparison of what my sick voice sounds like versus my normal voice, and I'm like, fuck, why can't my normal voice be my sick voice? I was like, man, I'm gonna karate chop myself in the throat, give myself permanent vocal cord damage so I can keep that voice. But whatever, right? Um, on with all of that, right? So let's get on with the episode. We don't have anyone joining in, which is fine by me. I don't prefer it that way, but I do like that because it allows me to focus here. Uh, I wish there was a way to pull out my chat because sometimes people do come into my chat and I feel bad because I ignore them. And I don't mean to ignore anybody. I just have my chat in like the worst spot. Like the chat is in the worst spot ever. You know what? I could do this. Just put my video down here on this side and this up here. And I just got to look over every now and then to see if there's anyone in chat while I read. Oh no, I now have t- I now have two scripts side by side. Oh, that's going to be confusing for me. Um let's change the name of this to Serial Killers. There you go. And man, I do a lot of serial killer stuff, which is fine. I mean, paranormal true crime in Mexico or Latin America, should I say, because I don't just do Mexico. I've talked about Brazil, Guatemala, Cuba, um, Haiti. I mean, I've even the Philippines at one point. I want to do a full episode on the Philippines because anywhere that Spain has conquered is considered Spanish in my book, and their names and words are all the same as Mexico or Spanish, should I say. My ADD is acting up really bad if you can't tell. Anyways, that's my speed at. It's two clips at this speed. 8. Oh, that's a crawl. Instead of 13. Anyways, we've been streaming for 18 minutes, so let's get this show on the road. This episode is going to be called Ice Picks, Saws, and a Wheelbarrow, Mexico's Most Sadistic Minds. Let's clip that right there. All right, let's set the scene. Picture a quiet Sunday morning in Chihuahua City, Mexico, back in 2015. The kind of morning where the biggest commotion you expect is the distant clang of church bells. But on this particular morning, something was off. A neighbor's dog just wouldn't stop barking. It was fixated on a beat up old wheelbarrow parked beside a house. What police would find inside that wheelbarrow would crack open a case so depraved it would haunt the city for years to come. To capture the sheer horror of the scene, one must imagine the bizarre just I put in a word that is very high intellectual, but I can't pronounce. Hold on, do I gotta Google how to pronounce this fucking word? I've heard it, I've said it, I know how to spell it. Oh, and I didn't say it, but I read it in my mind. I know how to say. Oh my god, I don't know how to say this word. Oh. I'm gonna Google this motherfucker real quick. Uh, let's learn together, everybody, shall we?
Juxtaposition.
Juxtaposition. Okay, so it was exactly how I said it, but my brain was trying to play tricks on me. Cool. I feel dumb sometimes, like really dumb, incredibly sometimes. Like, woo, how'd I even get out of school? One must imagine the bizarre juxtaposition of unimaginable brutality with the mundane. Some retellings of the discovery even include the detail of cartoon character socks on severed feet. That single horrifying image, whether entirely factual or a grim reconstruction, ripped the lid off a nightmare. This isn't just a story about a killer. It's about a chilling banality of evil, how it hides in plain sight using everyday objects as an instrument of terror. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end because the detail that finally brought this monster to justice is something you've probably overlooked a dozen times. Terrifying. The man they called the Discuartidazor, Quartias. Oh my God, my Spanish is leaving me. The man they called the El Descuartizador. Jesus. I'm glad I can read in Spanish because I know how to say it. Because if you can read it, you can say it. But man, when I go off and my brain goes off in a million miles an hour, and I have so many things happening in my head, I can't talk. As you can tell, just juxtaposition caught me off guard. I think next time I write a script, I'm gonna run it through like an AI chat or something and be like, "Hey, dumb this down for me because my brain writes shit I can't say." I'm like, "Ooh, it sounds fancy. I could pull this off," and then I go and read it in front of y'all, and it's just like, sorry about that. Tangents. The man at the center of this horror show was Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal. According to public records, he worked odd construction jobs, blending into the everyday hustle of Chihuahua City. Between 2009 and 2015, he maintained this facade. By day, he was just another face in the crowd, but by night, Castillo transformed, hunting hunting young men, specifically those made vulnerable by drug addiction. He'd lured them in with the promise of a ride, a free dose, or a place to crash for the night. It was a twisted form of predatory kindness, a poisoned invitation. Pause that right there. Doesn't that sound like Ed Gein? This is Mexican Ed Gein. Just wanted to point that out. His first confirmed victim was Fernando Valles Gandaria. Fernando was like others struggling with addiction, vanished after reportedly seeking a place to stay from Castillo. He made the tragic mistake of trusting a man who operated with chilling precision. It was as if he kept a mental ledger, a blueprint for terror. His methodology was cold and calculated. When police finally investigated Castillo's property, they made the gruesome discovery. Buried under the floor of his house, they found human remains, including what was identified as Fernando's skull, which reports described as shattered. Some accounts aiming to capture the killer's bizarre signature claim a small plastic toy was found with the remains. Investigators initially might have dismissed such a find as coincidence, but then more victims began to surface and a pattern emerged. The toys weren't a coincidence anymore, they were a signature, a terrifying, innocent looking card from a monster. That is terrifying. Can you imagine being like an officer stumbling, not stumbling, but like coming across the crime scene, and all of a sudden there's like a little toy there? Your first instinct, look for a kid. Second instinct, what the fuck? But then to discover that it's a calling card, that's a whole nother level of crazy. Let's continue. Signature toys. Castillo's signature wasn't quick or subtle. It was a horrifying testament to his meticulousness. According to local news coverage, he dismembered his victims with a saw. He then bagged the parts and wheeled them through the quiet Chihuahua neighborhoods, usually under the cloak of 3 a.m. darkness. To any casual observer, he was just a construction worker hauling away rubble from a late night job. It was the perfect mundane cover for unspeakable acts. Each dump site, each place where he discarded the remains, received a new, unsettling gift. Local reports and news stories repeatedly noted that investigators found children toys near some of the remains, a detail the press latched onto as his disturbing signature. While the exact placement is a subject of dramatic retelling, the general presence of toys is a frequently reported motif. Sometimes it was a part of a toy, other times a whole one. Its bright plastic innocence a stark contrast to the horror it accompanied. Forensic psychologists have a term for this unsettling practice. It's called trophy extension. It's a chilling concept suggesting the killer relives his control and power. What these experts' analysis often don't capture, though, is the raw primal fear that gripped the community. The fear was so palpable you can almost imagine mothers in Chihuahua wanting to purge their homes of these now tainted symbols of innocence, a desperate attempt to protect their own children from a horror they couldn't comprehend. Ooh, I'm getting better at this storytelling stuff, right? The house on Rio Concha Street. Stepping inside Castillo's house on Rio Concha Street in the Desarrollo Urbano neighborhood was like walking into a carefully managed chamber of horrors. Press coverage describes a scene cloaked in a deceptive cleanliness, with the air smelling of chemicals, a desperate attempt to mask the stench of death. Police discovered evidence of his atrocities, including a stained mattress and the tools of his grim trade. Reports consistently mentioned the use of a single type of saw, a segueta, across the crimes, suggesting a horrifying efficiency and foresight. This wasn't some impulsive act of violence. It was a carefully honed craft. The casual depravity of the scene is almost impossible to process. The freezer, the walls, the very floorboards held secrets, while some of the more lurid details described in retellings, like buckets of teeth or ice trays of blood, are not corroborated by major news outlets. They confirmed evidence was damning enough. The most chilling discovery was the body of a victim buried right under the floor. He later bragged with complete lack of remorse about his efficiency. On one occasion, neighbors disturbed by the whine of power tools late at night had politely inquired about the noise. Castillo, with unnerving calm, had simply told them he was installing cabinets. The neighbors, none the wiser, went back to their lives, unaware of the horrors unfolding just next door. So, can you imagine that? Your neighbor is making all this noise in the middle of the night. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, hey, what's going on? Can you cut this out? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just installing some cabinets. I got to get these done. I got people coming over. Cool. Just keep it down, dude. And you go back to bed, and like a week later, your block is surrounded by cops and everything. And they're just like, he's been murdering people. Shit. I can't imagine on my block because my neighbors are a single guy and his parents that live with him, and then a pool repairman who lives over there, who's like with, I think his mom lives with him too, um, and like 50,000 cats. And then I'm a corner house, so that's it. Those are my neighbors behind me and to my left. And then across the street is a party house because I don't know if it's a party house anymore. It used to be a rental property. I don't know if they've moved into it or not. And the people across the street, they're not even there. They haven't even moved in yet because they're renovating. So on this block, if I find out there's a serial killer, first of all, we do here paranormal investigation and true crime storytelling. So I'm gonna be over there first.
and I'm gonna find out everything.
Speaking of which, you know what? No, I'm not going to tell you. Hey, getting a lot more views than usual. Want to know why? Because I'm being more aggressive. Sorry, picking up my phone. I got my notifications. I have two phones, one for this specifically and my everyday. You can tell my everyday has a big ass case, while my other one just is this little tiny case. Sorry about that. I get so distracted. Section 4, his capture. The break in the case didn't come from a single cinematic clue, as some dramatization suggests. Instead, it was a result of painstaking police work connecting a horrifying pattern of discovery through 2015. As more dismembered remains were found in vacant lots, investigators began to link the crimes, realizing they were dealing with a serial offender. While some stories tell a tale of a dropped hardware store receipt leading directly to the killer, public reports from outlets like El País and Univision indicate a more grounded investigation. Detectives meticulously pieced together the fragments of this horrifying puzzle. Though evidence gathered from the various crime scenes, they through through evidence gathered, I forgot the R. Through evidence gathered from the various crime scenes, they built a profile and eventually zeroed in on their suspect. They identified Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal, followed him home, and their surveillance cemented their suspicion. Within hours on January 6, 2016, they secured a warrant to finally penetrate the veil of his ordinary life. When they knocked on the door, Castillo was the picture of unnerving calm. The cuffs clicked shut and the facade crumbled. His reign of terror was finally over. Sorry. His confession. During interrogation, Castillo, with a chilling nonchalance, allegedly admitted to about 12 murders. But here's the twisted part: he could only actually name five of his victims. The investigators, working tirelessly, could only confirm and prosecute him for three of those. The rest, as reported by outlets like Wikipedia, which synthesized cases reporting, simply blended into the region's tragic list of the missing. It's a stark reminder of the countless unnamed victims lost to pervasive violence. Castillo was disturbingly precise in other aspects. He drew maps for investigators detailing the location of his gruesome acts. He recalled times down to the minute. He even described the mechanics of his butchery, a horrifying testament to his methodical brutality. Yet he never remembered the faces. Think about that. The anatomical detail, the logistics of dismemberment, yes, but the human beings, they were faceless to him, reduced to mere objects. When pressed about the motive for the toys, his reported reasoning was unsettling, as it was brief. A monstrous perversion of innocence, suggesting he wanted his victims to feel safe before the end. Prosecutors determined his to ensure he paid stacked charges until the sentence hit 120 years, the absolute maximum allowed under law in Chihuahua. It was a victory for justice, but one that felt hollow to those most affected. Can you imagine that? He remembered every little detail, how he killed, with what he used, where he was, the minutes, the time, the pain, the torture, what he did, but he does not remember the people. That is insanity. That is a cold blooded killer right there. That's a. The hell was that? Oh, I got a poster of The Walking 28 years later, not The Walking Dead, the 28 years later, and it just fluttered up, and it was like, what the hell was that? That is a cold blooded killer right there. So let's move on. The femicide parallel. While Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal was unleashing his horror on young men in Chihuahua City, just 2 hours north in the notorious border of Ciudad Juarez, another grim chapter of violence was being written. It's crucial to note this is not directly connected to Castillo's case, but provides a chilling context for the landscape of regional violence. Here, men like Edgar Ernesto Alvarez Cruz and Jose Francisco Granados de la Paz were butchering women, operating with a similar horrifying impunity. Their crimes contributed to the tragic phenomenon known as the femicides of the cotton fields, a series of murders that shocked the world. Granados reportedly referred to their atrocities as weekend fun. Their modus operandi was brutal and terrifyingly simple. Abduct a factory worker. Hold on. Before I continue, two things. Modus operandi, which is Latin, I could say that, but I couldn't say juxtapose that other word because I just can't say it now. And I have to say this. I completely forgot. I'm giving you a warning right now. This go whenever I talk about femicide, I always give this warning, and it completely slipped my mind until I just saw the word. If you are sensitive to this subject having to do with children, violent attacks, other than the usual scope of serial killers, true crime, paranormal that we talk about, the main subject I always give this disclaimer to is when it comes to children and then rape. We're talking about rape. So, anytime that there has to do anything like that with women, primarily when it comes to cases with women, that's one of the top things that happens. It also happens in other cases too. I'm not just gonna say it's a woman thing, no, because that's fucked up. Because it happens in a lot. Ed Gein, yeah, is it? Oh, one of those serial killers fucks from America, right? It happens, okay? It's not just women, it's men, it's everyone in between, old, young. When it comes to serial killers and these people with these fucked up minds, this is what happens. So, this is right now your disclaimer because I completely forgot about the femicide thing until I read it and I saw the word and I was like, wait a minute, let me give my disclaimer because I know there's people that are sensitive to these things because there are survivors on both sides of the field, not just with women. Again, this is a broad scope thing because everyone suffers from this thing. I have to make that abundantly clear. I don't like the way this mic is positioned. There it goes. I like this better. So I have to make that abundantly clear because, again, it's just whenever you talk serial killers and psychopaths and murderers, you have to remember that they don't go for just one specific thing. They usually do multiple depraved things back to back to back. These guys abducted people, so that's kidnapping, murder, and rape. And the other guy, kidnapping, drugs, murder, dismemberment. He went full Leatherface on them. So whenever I talk about anything like this, if there is that word that begins with an R, because I hate repeating that word way too many fucking times. Just please skip ahead. Past this. Don't even listen to this episode if it offends you. I'm sorry. That's just it's part of the investigation process whenever I go through these files and I look at it and I make my little fucking notes. But then whenever I start reading the scripts, my mind goes blank because I'm in a whole different mindset because I have to put on the calm demeanor, the voice, and I have to speak, and I have to read and talk and look at y'all and communicate and all this other random bullshit. My mind forgets that, hey, sensitive subjects up ahead. Might want to give them a fucking warning. So this is your warning. This last 3-minute speech. Thank you. I got to charge my pins. I get distracted. Leave me alone. Oh, you won't charge here. Oh, I guess you're just dead. Sorry. I have a charger for this. Anyways. Do I have a charger for that? I do have a charger for that somewhere. Where did this come from? I have so many Samsung pins. Can you charge in here? Wait, what? You have charge? You don't need a charge. You work on here. That's why I had you in the car. Okay, cool. You're not magnetic. You're just an S pin. You're magnetic. You do have a charge, right? Because you do multiple things. Okay, sorry. I get distracted very badly. Cool. Let's just do this. Again, I'm sorry. I get distracted very easily. My ADD, my ADHD. Let's get back to it. So, again, if you're sensitive to these subjects, please move on, skip, whatever. Just be careful. I don't want to trigger anybody because I know these things are very sensitive. Anyways, so they abduct a factory worker, rape her in a desolate cotton field, and strangle her. They rarely bothered hiding the bodies. Why? Because Juarez has so many disappeared women, so many unsolved cases, that another body in the vast desert landscape barely registered. It was a horrifying testament to a society where certain lives were deemed disposable. Between 1993 and 2003, at least 14 victims are officially tied to Alvarez Cruz and Granados. Activists argue that hundreds more remain uncounted. The contrast between Castillo's meticulousness and their casual brutality is stark. Both sets of killers operated for years largely unchecked because authorities often dismissed the dead as gang related and closed the file, a systemic failure that allowed predators to thrive. So, can you imagine that? There's so much crime that they're just like, oh, just another gang violence. Tools of terror. Think about it: a saw, a wheelbarrow, two utterly mundane tools you can pick up at any hardware store. In the hands of Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal, these everyday objects were transformed into a personal arsenal of terror. This wasn't some elaborate high tech operation, it was a chillingly accessible one. While dramatic retellings might add details like specially chilled ice picks or a nickname like the Holy Trinity for his tools, the confirmed reality is grim enough. Reports state he used a saw and a rudimentary transport, like a wheelbarrow, to move remains. He was a killer who operated with common items, turning them into instruments of death. The chilling simplicity of his tools has had a lasting impact. The case serves as a grim lesson that evil doesn't always announce itself with a bang. Sometimes it's just quietly shops for tools. It's a sobering reminder to be aware of red flag combinations, purchases that, when viewed together, tell a story far more sinister than simple home repair. Survivor's guilt. Not everyone who crossed paths with Castillo ended up as a statistic. While not found in major newspaper archives or court transcripts, accounts have circulated of near misses, and these stories, whether fully verified or a reconstruction, paint a terrifying picture. One such story tells of a young man named Luis who managed to escape. Ah, messages. Sorry. Who managed to escape. He accepted a beer from Castillo, but his body violently rejected the drink before the sedative allegedly mixed within it could fully take hold. He woke to a nightmare, Castillo humming a lullaby, preparing to restrain him. The sheer terror fueled Luis. He sprinted barefoot through the streets, flagging down a taxi, desperate to escape. But this survivor never filed a report. Why? Because, like many living on the fringes, he didn't trust the police, fearing he'd be penalized for his lifestyle rather than protected from a killer. It wasn't until years later during the trial that he allegedly came forward. On the stand, the trauma was overwhelming. When defense attorneys questioned why he hadn't come forward sooner, his supposed response was heartbreaking. because I'm still trying to forget the sound of him humming those lullabies while sharpening blades. It's a line that chills you to the bone, a testament to the fact that even those who escape physically rarely escape whole. That's terrifying. I just watched Freddy versus Jason, and you know that where they see um, where the little girls start singing one, two, Freddy's. The perversion of a lullaby or of a child's song is very psychologically damning to somebody. So, and think of Tiptoe Through the Tulips by Tiny Tim. That song was never meant supposed to be a horror song. It was just a song that he created. And it turned into a horror song because of the way he sings it. And then you slow it down just a bit, and it's the perfect horror soundtrack. Now, you take any song, it could be a horror soundtrack, right? In the right hands. But especially something that's supposed to be innocent, like a lullaby or a children's song, and that just will haunt you forever. That is terrifying. Mental autopsies. Forensic psychiatrists and criminal profilers often classify Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal as an organized hedonistic killer. Organized means he planned his crimes meticulously. Hedonistic implies he derived pleasure from his acts. He didn't just kill, he prolonged the suffering, savoring the control. Yet Castillo breaks some of the typical molds. Most killers who dismember often keep body parts as trophy. But Castillo's trophies weren't flesh, they were the toys. The distinction is crucial. One prevalent theory discussed in journalistic summaries of the case suggests his fixation on toys stemmed from his profound trauma. This theory points to a this theory points to a childhood betrayal, his own mother vanishing when he was 6, leaving a single toy car behind. In Castillo's deeply fractured mind, every toy placed beside a corpse could be seen as a twisted reenactment of his own abandonment, projected onto his victims. He was, in a horrifying sense, reliving his own pain, but as the perpetrator. Understanding this doesn't earn him sympathy. What it does, however, is map the terrifying topography of his rot, showing how deep psychological wounds can fester into something truly monstrous. The copycats. There's always a copycat. If the killer is more like is bigger and more like pronounced in the city, there's always a copycat. The shadow cast by Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal stretched far beyond Chihuahua. The extensive media coverage of his toy signature, creating a chilling cultural footprint. While not confirmed by major news outlets, some social media and podcast reports tell of a disturbing incident in Torreon in 2018. A 14-year-old boy allegedly posted photos online. Dismembered animals arranged alongside children's toys, a clear echo of Castillo's MO. According to these unverified accounts, a vigilant neighbor recognizing the signature from TV reports called detectives, potentially preventing a future tragedy. Whether this specific story is true or not, it ignited a fierce debate. Advocates for extensive media coverage argue that such headlines serve as a vital public safety function, creating an informed populace capable of recognizing warning signs. Critics, on the other hand, argue that sensationalism hands disturbing individuals a blueprint, inadvertently inspiring copycats. It's a complex ethical tightrope for media and law enforcement. How do you inform without inadvertently inspiring? The Torreon story, fact or cautionary tale, stands as a stark reminder of both the potential dangers and undeniable necessity for public awareness. Wow. If you're finding this disturbing good, these aren't comfortable stories, but they're important ones. Hit that like button if you think stories like this need to be heard so the algorithm shows it to people who still believe evil is just something in movies or far off places. And subscribing costs nothing, but it helps us keep digging into the cases mainstream media often skips. Now, when I say us, I mean us as a fan base, because this idea actually came from a fan. Um, her name is Doll on TikTok. She sent me a message about um, Doña Noña, I think, if I remember. Happened at the beginning of the year. Elderly woman went to a house, shot three people. Supposedly, they were squatters in her home that she was leasing out. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's crazy. What's going on? And then I started doing research, and two of the people that were with her that charged into this attack supposedly were in a gang or a cartel offshoot. And I was like, hey, idea. This could be an episode. Serial killers. Because she killed like multiple people. It wasn't just one. It was, I think, two people. Shot three, killed one. One was in ICU, and the other survived. I think he eventually died. One survived, whatever. But that got me on the idea of serial killers and killers in general. So I was like, hey, idea. So I credit her with this one. So shout out. I'll link her TikTok too whenever I post these. I don't think she has YouTube. She's wants to be a. Well, I'll let her announce all that shit on her own. This ain't free. No, I'm just messing with y'all. It's not my information to divulge whatever I learned from my fans. Whatever y'all tell me, I will keep information safe. But when it comes to like an episode, I'm like, hey, this is accredited to so and so, but not like, oh, they're gonna go whatever. No, that's not my job. My job is this, and I'm telling you, hey, they helped me with this idea. So let's get back to it. That's all I got to say about that. Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal's sentencing in 2017 was a stark, almost anticlimactic affair. It was over quickly, just long enough for the judge to read the counts and slam the gavel on a 120-year sentence. For the victims' families who had endured years of unimaginable grief, it felt like a cruel mockery. They wanted a punishment that matched the finality of their loss, but Mexico had abolished capital punishment years before Castillo began his killing spree. So they settled for a life sentence. Castillo now spends his days confined to a cell in Chihuahua's top security wing. Even in a place filled with violent criminals, the particular nature of Castillo's crimes reportedly sets him apart, making him an outcast among outcasts. While colorful rumors about his prison life, such as specific nicknames or hobbies, have circulated, they remain unconfirmed. What is known is that he is locked away. The one detail that reporters have noted, however, is his unnerving smile, a constant, chilling reminder and a symbol of his utter lack of remorse, a final defiant taunt to a world he terrorized. Can you imagine? Even in prison, that dude's just like, I got you. You'll never get away. That'd be terrifying. The missing 12. The official count of Castillo's victims stands at three confirmed murders, but the families of unconfirmed nine, those whose loved ones vanished into the abyss of his about 12 confession, still hold vigils every Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. They gather, they place 12 empty marigold wreaths outside the prison gate, a silent, heartbreaking tribute to the known, the suspected, and the forever missing. Their hope is that Castillo will finally break his silence, name names, and bring some closure to the agonizing uncertainty. But he refuses, often claiming amnesia as a shield against accountability. Yet hope remains that new forensic techniques will eventually identify more remains buried in his old neighborhood. There is talk of excavations restarting a painstaking search for the truth beneath the earth. Until then, mothers continue their agonizing ritual, brushing dirt off children's toys found in vacant lots. Their hearts pounding, each plastic dinosaur, each discarded doll is a potential signature, a terrifying sign that their child might be among the missing. Their fate forever intertwined with the monster of Chihuahua. Learning the signs. Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal's case has become a grim textbook for criminologists, a chilling study in the red flags that can signal a budding serial killer. They pore over the details looking for patterns, animal abuse, compulsive diary keeping, and an obsession with tools, not for creation, but for destruction. This research isn't just academic, it's vital. Teachers and community leaders receive training to recognize disturbing behaviors. Children who draw dismembered figures or ask oddly specific questions about decomposition. It's a proactive approach, an attempt to intervene before a child's disturbing tendencies escalate. The implementation of such profiling, however, isn't without its controversy. Skeptics argue that it stigmatizes eccentric children. Advocates pointing to the possibility of preventing future tragedies argue that early intervention is key. The debate rages on, a complex ethical tightrope walked between protection and prejudice. But one fact remains unassailable. Every serial killer was once a kid who didn't get the help they desperately needed, or whose screams for help were tragically ignored. Final body count. Let's talk numbers. They can never capture the human cost. Officially, Mexico attributes 3 murders to Andres Ulises Castillo Villarreal. Unofficially, based on his confession, the number floats between 12 and 20. Now add in Edgar Ernesto Alvarez Cruz and Jose Francisco Granadas de la Paz, the perpetrators from Juarez, femicides of the Confield. They are linked to 14 confirmed femicides. Conservatively, you're looking at a minimum of 27 lives erased by these men across just 2 border region cities. Stretch that number to include the hundreds of unsolved Juarez cases, and the total becomes a sprawling, silent cemetery of statistics. Each number was once a vibrant, living person. Each was somebody's friend, somebody's child, somebody's promise of a better tomorrow. They were sons, brothers, daughters, and sisters. Their lives were brutally cut short, and their absence leaves an unfillable void in the lives of those who loved them. The numbers are staggering, but the individual stories, the shattered families, the lingering grief, those are the true measure of this profound human tragedy. Stories like these don't stay buried. They actively try to disappear unless we keep bringing them into the light. Share this video with someone who thinks serial killers belong only in fiction, because the reality is often far more disturbing. Comment below with a resource you believe best helps at-risk youth, because prevention is just as vital as prosecution. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for next week's episode. We're heading south to meet Argentine nurse whose ICU death toll rewrote medical ethics. Yeah, we're doing Argentina next. From saws that gleam under basement bulbs to a wheelbarrow that rolled through suburbia unnoticed, Mexico's sadistic minds turned everyday objects into instruments of unspeakable horror. Castillo's toys, the Juarez killer's desert, each a chilling reminder that monsters thrive in the seams society refuses to inspect, in the shadows where vulnerability meets depravity. The next time you pass a hardware store display or hear a dog bark at something you can't quite see, pause just for a second. Somewhere between those mundane movements, evil could be shopping for its next set of tools. And in a world where such darkness exists, awareness, vigilance, and the courage to speak up are truly the only system we've got for an alarm. Oh no, there it goes. Cool. That's, we're going to pause there. We're not taking a break or anything. We're just going to pause there because the next episode is coming up. I told you we're doing 2 episodes. So, no, I didn't. I just said we're doing multiple episodes. So let's run the credits again.
Okay, let's go.
That's actually too happy for what I'm about to talk about. And I feel very bad after that. So before we move on, I want to check my messages because I want nothing to distract me for what I'm about to talk about next. Hmm. I got to see this real quick. Hold on.
I forgot it was early day. I forgot the kids at school. Okay. I forgot it was early day. I forgot the kids at school.
That's funny. My daughter sent me a message of a lady running out of her house saying, "I forgot it was early day. I forgot the kids at school." And I only did that to her twice. Cool. That's it. No message anywhere. Cool, cool, cool. I need to check my Discord. Let me check my messages real quick. Can we clip this? Or this that long silence will get cut out either way. Cool. Close that out. Anyways, headphones back on and let's continue. So next is something that hits closer to home to me. This happened in the city of Allende, Coahuila. And I've talked about this before. I got a part one and a part two. Part two is a video, part one is audio. The problem is with part one is that when I recorded it, I used what I'm using now as my recording device, which is Riverside. And me being the intelligent human being that I am, I didn't save that audio properly. And when I officially opened my Riverside with an account, because I was using the free trial base, I used a different email because at one point I had my own email associated with my own website, my own stuff like that. But then, hard times, life happens. So I gave those up. And in doing so, I never transferred ownership over through that email. So that audio is here on Spotify, but it doesn't exist on my hardware. So I don't have it. So I'm going to do a recap. And to me, like I said, this is more home, more touching because guess what? I go there or I went there a lot growing up. I grew up there. When I say I grew up there, like I spent every Christmas there, like months. I was spending like almost the entire month. I'd be there for weeks. Um, Summers, I'd be there. Random weeks, weekend holidays. My grandparents would be like, "Let's go to Mexico." I live with my grandparents primarily, just choice of life. Um, So I always say that I grew up there because I spent so much time there that I have more memories that I can remember there than I do over here. And I lived in Dallas my whole life. So that kind of blurs together. Mexico holds a special place to me. And we went to Allende because that's my family's hometown. So, this is a more somber one. I'm going to be more serious. I'm not going to have up the chat. So if you send me a message on the chat, I'm sorry. I'm going to actively ignore it at this point because this to me is way more important than anything else going on right now. Where is my script again? So I'm going to be reading the script. It's going to be one solid flow. And I'm sorry for anyone that has a comment or anything. I'm not going to be reading it until the very end of all of this. So in advance, thank you for all this. If you're on Twitch, TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok. If you're on Twitch, YouTube, or on here, which is where I host my lives, like, follow, subscribe. But please, whenever I talk about the Allende massacre, hold all your comments to the very end. Or if you comment and say anything and I do not answer back, I'm so sorry about that. But this to me is very serious, and I make sure all my information is as accurate as possible. I may get things wrong, But last time I literally read part of my script and then directly from court cases, from the court transcripts, from all the people that were there and that were interviewed. I read their direct words. It wasn't, oh, here's my fancy script. No, it was, this is what happened. So, final warning, if you're in the chat, if you're lurking anywhere and you want to get my attention, I'm sorry. Find me on Discord, send me a message there. I'll answer you later whenever I'm not talking about something this serious. Thank you, everybody. Let's get on with the show. The Allende Massacre. Oh, let's change this name too. Hold on. Bam. What the hell? There it goes. Get rid of that. Give my script back. Where's my script? Where's my script? There it is. You ever hear about the town that seemed to disappear overnight? Not because of an earthquake or a movie villain, because people with guns and lists came through and took whole families. This actually happened in Allende, Coahuila in March 2011. Trucks rolled in, doors were kicked down, people were taken. And by the time the smoke cleared, dozens, maybe hundreds were missing. Most of the world barely knew it happened. We're about to change that. Sorry about that. A town that didn't make headlines. Allende is a small ranching municipality in Coahuila, about 40-minute drive from the Eagle Pass border on the U.S. side, roughly about 250, 420 kilometers from Austin, depending on the route you take. Life there looked ordinary, ranches, pickup trucks, ranchera music, but by 2011, the area had become a corridor used by organized crime, and the Zetas had deep control in parts of northern Coahuila. What the Zetas were. Los Zetas began in part with former soldiers and became known for extreme violence, sophisticated logistics, and attempts to control local institutions. And Allende, their presence meant extortion, checkpoints, and the co-option or intimidation of local authorities. A pattern documented by multiple investigations. They use hierarchy. Yeah, they were a violent criminal network. So this long pause is just like my script going through, because this one I added tons of notes that it's reading through, like what to say, what not to say, because I want to word this properly. You know what? I'm going to use my scroller because that's going to work a lot better. The U.S. connection. U.S. law enforcement contacts played a role in the chain of events investigators later tied to the Allende rampage, a DEA operation led by Agent Richard Martinez and called Operation Too Legit to Quit in reporting, obtained trackable phone identifiers for high-level Zetas leaders and shared them with the Mexican federal unit. That information leaked, and the Trevino brothers, Miguel Angel Zeta 40 and Omar Zeta 42, learned of the betrayal and sought revenge. And all this information comes from ProPublica and National Geographic. National Geographic details this as the trigger to what started all of this. Okay. My notes. Like I said, I have notes. Correction note. Yeah. So right here, the critical point is the cross-border connection, and it's not a huge distance. Turned on that. Sorry about that. Witnesses and reporting Witnesses and reportings describe Seta gunmen arriving with lists and carrying out targeted roundups across Allende and nearby ranches and towns. They took people from restaurants, gas stations, and homes. Many of the victims were ordinary townspeople. The scale reported by survivors and investigators ranges wildly. Official state counts were low at first, while independent investigators, families, and press have produced higher estimates, tens to possibly hundreds more than what was originally thought by the state. What happened at the ranch? So, what happened at these ranches? This is a warning because it gets gruesome. I don't think I went that gruesome on here because, like I said, this is just a recap. But from what I remember, the stuff that happened at the ranch was very gruesome. Multiple survivor testimonies and later investigations describe mass kidnappings, killings, burning of remains, and the use of heavy equipment to remove evidence. Human rights investigators and journalistic probes documented burned buildings, ash, and later excavations recovered fragmented remains and forensic traces. But many remains were too fragmentary to identify. Avoid definitive phrasing. Yeah, they incinerated a lot of people, but not everybody. They burned as much as they could. The evidence supports mass burning and destruction, but exact totals and methods vary across witness accounts and official reports. When the Marines arrived, Mexican security forces and Marines moved into the area days later, reporting places the initial violence in mid-March 2011 and significant security actions in the following week. So it happened days later. Official counts were small initially. State authorities at times cited numbers in the tens, so just a few people. While family groups, independent investigators, and academic reports estimated a larger toll. Hundreds reported missing by relatives and human rights teams. The Colegio de Mexico and journalistic investigations documented many more disappearances than early official totals. Officially, dozens, families, and investigators documented scores to hundreds. And this comes from the Gobierno de Mexico, the DEA's USA responsibility. Now, this was pulled from ProPublica National Geographic 2017. Concluded that U.S. intelligence handed its sensitive information into channels that leaked, and the DEA did not publicly acknowledge the full consequences or carry out an internal transparent reckoning that families and human rights groups felt was necessary. Reporting documents internal debates about protecting cases versus warning potential targets. That's a complex ethical issue. Reporting found U.S. agents prioritized ongoing operations and did not publicly warn potential targets, a decision critics say had deadly consequences. Mexican authorities later arrested and prosecuted local Zeta operatives. However, many prosecutions did not result in homicide convictions tied specifically to the Allende disappearances, often citing lack of identifiable remains as a barrier. The Trevino brothers were captured in later years. Miguel Trevino was arrested in 2013 and have been targeted by the Mexican and U.S. justice system. But prosecutions and extraditions have complex timelines and evolving cases. Yeah, I put my own notes here. Avoid attributing, blah, 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 blah. Recent years have seen additional extradition and legal action against the Zeta leaders. Sites were reportedly bulldozed, backhoed, and in places later paved or reused, a pattern survivors say was meant to erase traces. Yeah, so, call to action right here. If you want more historical context and more of these hard-hitting stories, please like, follow, subscribe, hit the little bell notification on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. I don't have any resources that I could link y'all to because, like I said, this happened a while back, but it still felt to this day. If you want to watch kind of what happened, and I say kind of, and when I say kind of, I mean like it's a dramatization. Netflix adapted it into a show called Somos. I always talk about it. It's hard hitting. It's very good. It's dramatized a lot, but it's based on what happened in Allende. It's based on the Allende massacre specifically. So everything there is supposedly in Allende. So watch it, check it out. Let me know what you think, and leave a comment, subscribe. That's actually it. I thought I had more. So yeah, said that one's a hard hitting one. It was just a recap to capture everything I talked about previously. Yeah, because it's a big thing. It happened. It's not one of those things that like, oh, it might have happened. No, it fucking happened. And a lot of people blame the US. I hold my reservations on that because the US leaked it. They didn't leak it. They gave the information to the federal authorities in Mexico, and that's where it got leaked. Now, they could have warned people, sure, but the people that they're warning were part of the organization of Las Zetas, like the guy that gave up the information for the cell phones. He was a part of the organization. He was trying to clear his own name to get out of trouble with the DEA. So if they were to let him know, like, hey, they're coming after you, he could get moving, which would trigger a lot more different things from happening because now he's on the run in the States, right? And what is the Zetas going to do? They're going to send more people. So it's going to spread from just a controlled area to now we got stuff happening over here too. So who do you blame? There's no one to blame. It's bad things happen because of bad people. Now, if the DA would have given the information to the federales, well, they did. Not if. The DAs gave the information to the federales. They had a leak. Now they've revamped the federales in Mexico. If I'm not mistaken, I think they got rid of them. Let me double check. I always double check. Yeah, so it's now it's officially part of the National Guard. So they absolved it and put it into the National Guard in Mexico because it was hard to keep them from getting overworked. And then on top of now being overworked and underpaid and under a lot of stress by the government and by officials and by the public to capture high ranking officials from cartels, you're fighting against cartels with no reinforcements. You're just your own police force, essentially. And they weren't police force. They were basically the FBI or DEA in Mexico. But it wasn't enough. So now they got absorbed into the military, the National Guard. So now they have a lot more backup, which helps out a lot. But if this would have happened sooner, things would have been a lot different. Maybe, hopefully, right? So, anyways, that's the end of today's episode. Been on for about an hour. No one in? Okay, cool. I will see y'all guys later. I have nothing to say. Just be careful out there. Keep your eyes open and like, follow, subscribe. Until next time.